Michigan football has one of the more interesting, you could even say intriguing, but more importantly, it's a very impactful quarterback battle in this 2022 preseason. It's one of the more impactful in the nation, I would even go as far to say. JJ McCarthy and Cade McNamara are the two front runners for the top of the depth chart, obviously. Cade McNamara is your steady-going guy. He led Michigan to a 12-2 record last season, starting in all of those games. JJ McCarthy is the talented, now sophomore, who is a 5-star coming out of high school. He saw significant playing time for a backup QB, which included having his red shirt burned for how much of the games he played in. And he has a lot of experience. He has a higher ceiling than McNamara, I would say, but also a lower floor. Is prone to make more mistakes and doesn't exactly go with what the system has planned. Sometimes that can be a good thing, as seen in the Georgia game and other moments where he has, eluded defenders, kind of almost not made up his own plays, but improvised. But at the same time, with how Michigan is run, you like to have a guy that can very much work within the system, and McNamara is a perfect fit for that. Alan Bowman, who I think is now a 6th-year senior, is still hanging around and is going to use his COVID eligibility to return to Michigan. Alex Orji and Jaden Denegal are 2 incoming freshmen who are a part of Michigan's 2022 recruiting class. Those 2 will probably be redshirted, but because of a recent development about JJ McCarthy, don't be surprised if, one of those 3 work their way into maybe being the 3rd or 2nd string QB, come early fall. And I'm only saying that because this injury, while not as severe as previously anticipated, there's an injury, it's nagging, you don't know how long it's going to last, even with recovery. The injury that I'm talking about, as many of you know, was brought up yesterday. It was first reported by James Yoder, and he was saying that JJ McCarthy has injured his throwing shoulder and will need surgery. Well, Yoder was right that he injured his throwing shoulder, but what was super misleading and incorrect was the needing surgery part, because he doesn't need surgery. In fact, at the moment, they're not even planning on getting him surgery, and he's just going to be taking a short break. He's been put on ice from spring practice, McCarthy has, and it's really kind of all taken care of. It just, things need to follow through when he needs to recover his shoulder. But obviously this puts McNamara in a better position to maintain his starting job entering the 2022 regular season, because he'll be getting more reps, etc. And we'll talk about this more in a few minutes, but first and foremost, I want to read an article or 2 talking about JJ McCarthy's injury and how it can impact Michigan football. So let's get into that first thing. JJ McCarthy, he was the primary backup heading into spring practice, obviously, as he was this past season, and it's been confirmed that he will be limited until summer due to his shoulder injury, but it looks like surgery for now is likely out of the question, and he's just going to be rehabbing it and not throwing a whole lot to let it, heal. So we're first going to be reading an article by the Wolverine Digest from SportsIllustrated.com. The JJ McCarthy situation, and I'll link this one and the other article down below. Rumors are swirling about JJ McCarthy's availability as Michigan nears the halfway point of spring football. This article was released yesterday. Many Michigan fans are ready for the JJ McCarthy era to start in Ann Arbor and assume that it will this fall. However, rumors recently began to swirl that McCarthy's march to the top of the depth chart has been put on hold due to a shoulder injury. Per a source close to the program, McCarthy has been dealing with something since before the Orange Bowl against Georgia. He was able to manage the discomfort during the playoff game and had a decent outing given the circumstances. The poor O-line play, the poor play overall, and the freshman went 7 of 17, for 131 yards and a long touchdown bomb, and also carried the ball 4 times for 24 yards in the last game of the season. That was the only game, mind you, that McNamara was benched and McCarthy placed him, which for a lot of us seemed to be a foreshadowing of what was to come. But that may not be the case. Him being able to play in that game indicates that the injury isn't season-ending serious, but recent developments indicate that he's been kept on ice throughout spring ball. We know he can throw the ball. We witnessed it during our sit-down interview with him. That's the article, by the way, talking, not me. I have not even seen the kid, unfortunately. But uncorking it all day long during spring practice is a different story. In order to prevent any further injury, he's taking it easy. Rumors started popping up about imminent surgery, but we've learned that no such procedure is guaranteed. It's been discussed, but nothing is scheduled for now. This is all throwing a wrench into the QB battle between McCarthy and McNamara. McNamara obviously led Michigan to a 12-2 season with a Big Ten championship, a win over Ohio State, and a playoff appearance. Now, instead of seeing the two QBs battle it out on April 2nd for the spring game, we probably won't see McCarthy until the 2022 campaign rolls around. Sitting out for any amount of time puts him behind the 8 ball when it comes to battling with McNamara, especially if surgery ends up taking place. But if it doesn't, he'll continue to grow. And hey, if he is truly as talented on his own, like people say he is, he might even win the job even with this lack of spring playing time. You never know. I mean, the kid is talent. It's been shown. Josh Pate and many others on 24/7 Sports have described him as like the guy that can help save Michigan football. This was before this year, obviously, and I trust them. 24/7 Sports is really good at analyzing talent, but you never know. So, but if he is as talented as they say he is, then maybe he'll win the job even with this hiccup in the road. And I think he's a talented guy. I think at the end of the day, when his career is all said and done, he'll be the best QB that Jim Harbaugh has had at Michigan. But that's not to say that Cade McNamara isn't good. I think Cade McNamara will end his tenure being the second best, or maybe even, depending on how McCarthy's career goes, maybe even the best QB under Harbaugh. After all, he led us to that 12-2 season. He, despite, Michigan playing a bully ball run game, he made some good throws. He made some critical throws, mind you. That game against Penn State, all of the scores were passing. That pass to Eric All, I know it wasn't a deep ball or anything impressive, but that was a system throw. He saw Eric All wide open, saw an opportunity, and just tossed it to him. The guy can manage a game. He can do well. There's no reason to believe that McNamara is a bad option and is holding us back. Maybe, I don't think he is. I mean, if he wins in spring practice, in summer practice, and in fall practice, there's no reason to not start him. You have to start whoever shows themselves to be the best. We'll now move on to another article about how the injury could impact Michigan football. There's an introduction part, but I'm just going to read how his injury could impact Michigan football. And again, these two articles will be linked down below. And after that, I'm going to talk about who I think, after this setback, who I think, for now, my projected starter is. And mind you, it's early. It's not even, into fall practice. It's far from it. So this will be subject to change when I get to that. The rumor is that McCarthy is a shoulder injury. This has been confirmed. This article was from over a day ago, but I still want to talk about it. He would be expected to be back by summer. However, it's going to cost him some valuable time in his quest to overtake McNamara. McNamara will get more reps during the spring if this turns out to be true, and that will give him an edge. Plus, you never know how rehab will go, so timelines can change further. Despite that Michigan seems to have already identified the problem, the timeline is not set. The biggest takeaway is that it's a good thing Michigan has two really good quarterbacks, and I agree with this. As I've mentioned before, and will mention in the future when I talk about who I think will start, I think that, really both of them are really good. It's really the best way I can put it. I hate to have such a broad stroke, but I want to talk about this more later. I've already talked about it a lot, so I don't just want to keep, fumbling around with words and trying to just get in more minutes. Genuinely, both of them are just really good. And it's better to have surgery now. This rumor has since been disclosed as false, but it will likely stall his momentum, even just if it's the rehab that is being provided right now and him taking off time. It's going to hamper his momentum being the starter. This is not permanent, though. This just reinforces how critical it is to have both guys going into next season, because regardless of who is named the starter, Michigan football is going to need both. Georgia needed 2 quarterbacks to win the national title. Really, it was just Stetson Bennett who won it, to be honest. And Alabama needed that 2 with Tua and Jalen Hurts. So it's not terribly new. It's all going to come down to who plays better when the regular season starts. And I said this before, and to a certain degree, it's true. Eventually, barring injury, which injury has obviously kind of got its way into the conversation, but if McCarthy is better, like truly better, you eventually have to replace your Jalen Hurts being McNamara with your Tua Tagovailoa. I've made that analogy before. If McCarthy is truly better, if he is ready by fall, I want him to start. If he's ready, if he shows just that he is equal to McNamara, you start McCarthy, because McCarthy's younger, he has that higher ceiling, he provides juice to the offense. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everything will go to plan. And for now, kind of to just be safe, and I mean this genuinely, but really to be safe, because you don't know, and because McNamara is already projected QB number 1, he's probably going to improve himself while McCarthy's plateauing due to taking time off to heal his injury. I think that Cade McNamara will be the initial winner of the QB battle. I don't know if by QB battle winner, I mean he's going to win it this spring, this summer, or even this fall and be named the starter. But for now, it's clear that Cade is probably going to be the favorite to be the starter in fall. Again, this is very early, but for now, and to be safe, I think that it's the better option to say, it's better to state that McNamara will win the battle at quarterback with the setback McCarthy is having. McNamara is 12-3 as a starter. He started 1 game in 2020, so I included that. But if I'm including that, I also have to include that he led his team after Joe Milton was benched from a large halftime deficit to Rutgers. He's a leader. He brings stability to the locker room. He can, unlike some previous Michigan QBs, make NFL throws against better teams. The Ohio State game is, in my opinion, a good example. Same with, the Penn State and Michigan State game. He does what is asked. Is he a, massive improviser? By no means, really. He's a system guy, but there's a lot of value there. And he can make good throws. I know that, not as much was asked of him, sorry about that, because his defense performed better than previous defenses did against teams like Ohio State and better Power 5 teams, but who cares? This guy's a leader. And even though he had a better supporting cast than, let's say, Shea Patterson did, or maybe, I don't want to say for sure, but maybe Wilton Speight in 2016, he didn't make nearly as many mistakes when it mattered most. He didn't throw multiple interceptions against Ohio State. He didn't throw, bad passes against good teams. He was good in critical moments. Remember, the fumbles, and this is what comes with McCarthy, is that risk factor. He did not give away the Michigan State game. Did he throw the last interception? Yes, but he also thought that was going to be PI. And Michigan State, if we're being honest here, that interception was it was a good play, might have been PI. I lean to just to point that was a pick, a good play in and of itself. But still, he did not fumble the ball twice against Michigan State. He did not lose one of the 2 fumbles. He did well. He also threw that bomb to Andrell Anthony. It wasn't a deep pass, but nonetheless, he saw once again a wide open wide receiver. He just makes the correct throws. He makes the throws that need to be thrown to put his team in positions to win the game. Now, unlike McCarthy, I don't think that he has the talent to necessarily win games all on his own, but he also has the awareness and the skill to not potentially lose games on his own, like McCarthy might. That comes again. More risk, more reward is what McCarthy is, and McNamara is that steady-going guy. McNamara has 3,001 career passing yards, a 20-6 TD interception ratio, career-wise. Again, system guy. The only time he's had a truly awful game, a game where he might have, screwed his team over and prevented them from winning, was probably the Georgia game, and that was against a defense that has generational talent on it. Because of, COVID, because of development by Kirby Smart and Dan Lanning and Glenn Schumann. It's just, that was the one terrible game he had. The Washington game was another game like that, and he didn't throw picks in that game, unlike the Georgia game, but that was also against a defense and secondary that was loaded all around. McNamara was third team All Big Ten in 2021. I don't know if he necessarily deserved the award, if we're going by how the award is often given, which is more, statistics. And I only say that because he had a good supporting cast, but he was definitely underrated whether he deserved the award or not. And this is me speaking from an unbiased perspective. I am a Michigan fan, but I like to keep things real here. I don't know, again, if he was a top 3 quarterback, but he was certainly underrated, in my opinion. And this might be, people might disagree with this. He's better than the likes when it comes to decision-making and helping his team win. He's one of the best QBs in that regard. No, he's not more talented than CJ Stroud. He's not more talented than Talia Tagovailoa or Adrian Martinez. All of this is what comes to athleticism. I don't even know if athletically he's more talented than Peyton Thorne or Sean Clifford. Regardless, he's a much better decision-maker, with probably the exception of CJ Stroud, than all of the guys I just mentioned when it comes to throwing the ball. He just is. And I don't really know if there's much debate there. He has a high football IQ, in my opinion. And to conclude all of this, Michigan cannot go wrong with who they start. They start McCarthy, cool. They might have more mistakes. They'll probably also have even more big plays. And Michigan, I think, led the nation last year in plays that were of 50 or 60 yards or longer. I forget, but Michigan had a strangely explosive offense, which hasn't always been the case. But they had it with McNamara under center. Imagine what it could be with McCarthy. It would probably be a mix of both worse and much better, depending on the play and depending on the day and such. Again, that higher risk and also higher reward. Don't know why it took me so long to say that. But I think McNamara, for now, it's safe to say that he'll win. But I'm defending him if he does win. I'm also defending McCarthy if he does win. I just think that there's a lot of people who don't appreciate McNamara for what he did. He led us to that 12-2 record. I don't want to see him be disgraced by the fan base or insulted. If he does win the job, we don't need that kind of division. I know McCarthy is the shiny object. Everyone wants him, and he's not an object. He's a celebrity. He's a talented celebrity, which those don't always exist. There are untalented celebrities too. But everyone wants him to start. And I think his time will come. Everyone knows that. But don't be impatient. Like McCarthy himself has said, patience is key. And that might be the case here for Michigan's success finally at the QB position. And that's all I'm going to say for this video. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and comment your thoughts down below. Who do you think is going to start after learning that McCarthy is dealing with some kind of injury? Do you now think that Cade McNamara is going to step in and start? Have you changed your mind from McCarthy to McNamara? Or do you still think that McCarthy is going to take the reins over and be the starter this year in the 2022 season? Tell me down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys around. Bye.